Welcome to Trust, Then Know, the Jackie Boy Podcast, a podcast providing education, information, and mostly inspiration that will help you become the best version of yourself. Join host Jackie Boyd for engaging and intriguing conversations. Now, Trust, Then Know, the Jackie Boy.
Hello, and welcome to the 7th episode of the 2nd season of my podcast, Trust and Know, the Jackie Boy Podcast. The Trust and Know Jackie Boy Podcast is all about bringing you people who have something to say. We come on every 2nd and 4th Tuesday of every month, and we want to bring you information, education, but mostly inspiration to help you become the best version of yourself. Listen, we are on all your major podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, YouTube, and Facebook. All you have to do is put in Trust, T-R-U-S-T, then T-H-E-N, Know, K-N-O-W, and you'll find all of our episodes. Listen, they say that success is when opportunity meets preparation. And today we're going to have a successful day because we are prepared and there's a great opportunity. And so we are so excited to have two phenomenal gentlemen here with me. Mr. Ashley Thomas III, and Mr. Orlando Spencer. Mr. Ashley Thomas is the National President of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, or NAREB. And Mr. Orlando Spencer is the president of the local board of Jacksonville's chapter, FCAR, First Coast Association of Realtors. And I am so stoked to have them both here with me today. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, thank you for having us.
Great.
Absolutely. Listen, the reason why this is so special is because the National Association of Real Estate Brokers every year has a flagship event called Realtist Week. And that's when every local board across the country comes together to bring information, education about home ownership. And Mr. Ashley Thomas, our national president, is here helping us to kick off our Realtist Week. And we are so excited about that. So gentlemen, I just want to jump right in. First of all, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. How have you enjoyed Jacksonville so far?
I love Jacksonville. I mean, the food is great. People are great, so it's a great opportunity to be here locally.
I love that. You hail from LA.
Yes.
That is your city.
It is my city.
And you are the owner of a brokerage that you've been the owner of for about, 25 years?
So I've been the owner of the brokerage for about 13 years.
13 years.
I've been in the business probably a little bit over 25 years.
Okay, got you.
Yes,
Got you. And you are the 34th president of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers.
Yes, very honored to be able to serve the membership across the country. NAREB, as you know, has over 115 local boards. Happy to be here with Mr. President himself of Jacksonville. But yes, so it's a great honor. It's an honor to serve, and it's an honor to do great work.
So I know that you started, when you first got in the business, you started in property management?
I started off in lending, but I added property management later through one of my great mentors, Miss Evelyn Reeves.
Okay.
But I started off in lending, then graduated into real estate, and then added property management. So we're a full service brokerage out of Los Angeles, California.
Wonderful. And Mr. President, you started about 12 years ago? But you started as an investor when you first got in the industry?
Oh, yes. So my first baptism to real estate was a flip back in 2000. And then from there, just investing in it, actually got licensed back in 2016. That's when I actually went in formally. And definitely, thank you so much for having us on this podcast. And thank you, Mr. President, for taking the time to come out to Jacksonville. This has been a phenomenal time so far, and then next week is going to be explosive, of course.
We're so excited. Well, these two gentlemen obviously live across the country from each other, but they share a lot in common, and that is that they have a love and a passion for community and real estate. As Mr. National President says, that real estate is more than a transaction. It's more than a transaction. It's about people. And at the core of everything we do a lot of work. We do a lot of policy work, advocacy work, but at the end of the day, it's all about helping people get in homes and making sure they have a fair chance to do that. So I just want to jump right in with you, Mr. President, with everything that's happening in the country right now.
Yes.
Everything that's happening nationally. I know that you're big on policy. Let's talk about how policy impacts homeownership. Just take the viewers and listeners through how that actually happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we can go back and we can talk, there's certain sound bites that you hear from people. They'll say that today the homeownership gap between white households and black households is 29%, which is greater than 1968 before the Fair Housing Law was enacted. We've dealt with decades of discrimination, segregation, Jim Crow. And so each of those things allow for policy to really come and play a correction in the marketplace. And so what we believe is that the gap was created through policy and it can be corrected through policy. And so we really want to make sure that we are at the table in the conversations and we're speaking on behalf of our communities at all times. So
Wonderful.
So policy has a great play for us, as well as education, but we definitely want to make sure that if you want to buy a home, it is the American dream. I still believe that it is the American dream of home ownership. And so if we want to buy a home, we want to make sure that we support you in those efforts.
So let's let our viewers and listeners know, let's go back a little bit, because we know that NAREB was founded in 1947.
Yes.
Why was it founded?
So NAREB was founded because we saw a need across the country. So there were local boards spread out around the country that really focused on housing and home ownership in the Black community. And then NAREB was founded to bring all of that together so we can really have one voice and one movement. Because what was going on in Birmingham, Alabama, was going on also in Tulsa, Oklahoma, was going on in Los Angeles, was going on in Jacksonville, correct? And so it was very important for us to bring all of those efforts together and come, and work together. The other thing is we were also dealing with a lot of discriminatory actions. And it's very important to understand that homeownership, even back then, was the number one wealth builder in America for generational wealth, right? And so we wanted to make sure that we were a part of the wealth building in America. And so that was very important for us.
Got you. So you talked about the local boards. There are about, 115, 120 local boards across the country?
About 115. I know we'll be at 120 real soon.
Okay.
So I hear you speaking that into existence.
Let's make it happen. So how does and Mr. President, I'm gonna take this, have you answer this question, but first, how does the National Association help the local boards, like all the initiatives that we have nationally? How does that trickle down to the local? And what strategies are put in place to make that happen?
Yeah, so, one of the things that all of our boards are autonomous, so they operate locally, which is very important because although we're dealing with the same issue on wanting to do something more on a global level, which is building generational wealth, things that transpire, real estate is very local. So what happens in Jacksonville might be different than what happens in New York City, right? And some of the issues are a little bit different, but we come together with a common goal of democracy and housing. No matter where you are at, our fight is democracy and housing. We want to make sure that as Black family that you have an opportunity in the city that you want to live in, right? And even further than that, in the city you work in. You shouldn't have to move 3-hour drive, commute every day just to find a place to live in. So we want to fight for those issues. But nationally, we'll set a tone in terms of what the agenda is. So this year, we're closing the gap, advocacy, affordability, and access. And then locally, you can take that and you roll that out locally on what is the best efforts, and I know Jacksonville's working on some development, right? Which in other markets, it might not be so much development, or it might be ground up building. In other markets, it might be redlining as an issue because of discriminatory practices, right? Other areas, which I think are pretty much blanket across the country, some are dealing with appraisal bias, right? It might not be as a big deal in some areas as it is in other areas. And so many different barriers, but the locals have the autonomy to deal with what is most impactful for theirs.
For their area. So, Mr. President, as we know that, like, we have initiatives, you have initiatives when you came into your presidency, things that you wanted to do. So talk about some of the things that Mr. National President talked about, how it impacts us locally.
Well, there has been excellent access in terms of getting credible information and support from the national to the local level. So we have technology that we're really infusing into the organization efficiently. So we're part of Region 6. Okay, so within Region 6, we have we meet often. We're communicating through WhatsApp, text, social media. We're utilizing everything that National has given us, so it's hot off the press.
Okay.
We have our regional actual conferences that we meet and go through leadership. We're in touch with our regional VP. Just yesterday when we had our power brunch, we got a visit from the president in Tallahassee. We invited him over. We're discussing some things because he is a development instructor in the Development Academy, which was started by NAREB, right? Okay. So you have all these, it's spread out, so these resources are phenomenal, and we just have to continue to be efficient with, okay, who? Not how all the time, but who can I get in touch with? And more than likely, that resource is within NAREB. And a lot of times locally, our strengths, fortunately, you know, God will put something in your head and it's just like, you got to run with this. And then your local membership can push execute it. So we're just trying to continue to be efficient with it. So, you know, locally, you know the three things we want to do. Right. We want to collaborate with those that can help us push that gap so that it's closed down. You know, we're doing more keys at closing and people are strengthening their businesses a lot more. We want to partner. Definitely, we have some strong partners where they have a true heart's desire to empower our community, the urban core, and even out in the rural sticks. Let's just obtain more assets. And then finally, you know, we want to get a headquarters. Right. We feel like as a leader in our community for what it takes to get democracy in housing, we should own assets and improve them. And that's what we want people to do with homes. That's how they're going to become more sustainable. So I know I kind of like went kind of wrong, but it's like, it's just a wonderful question to just to see how all these things funnel down come together to make each local level more powerful by us leveraging each other's strengths. Right?
Got you. So let's stay on that national to local type of conversation for a minute, because I know we have our 5 pillars. Does every local chapter implement those pillars, or is it required that every local chapter implement those pillars in what they do?
Yeah, so we like to do a guide, into the literal sense of we want to guide the local boards. Some of our local boards have been around longer than the national, right? And we, you know, so Empire Board of Realtors, we have out of New York, we have boards that have been around longer. And so they could have their own mission, things that are going good. It just ties into what we're all doing. So we do have our 5 pillars. We do have our commitment through advocacy, affordability, and access. But, you know, there is some autonomy to be able to figure out what is happening in, for example, in the city of Atlanta. Big issue with institutional investors. They own maybe 40% of the available single family properties in that city. That's an issue that is different than Newark, New Jersey, potentially, right? Which is different than Tulsa. And so, what is really good though is that the local boards have great communication cross-sector. And so the local board president in Tallahassee, as we were saying, right, he can reach out to the local board president in Houston and they can have a conversation and say, hey, listen, I know you're dealing with an issue that's just starting to come into our marketplace. How have you guys dealt with it? If you could go back, what would you do differently when it was coming into your marketplace, because it's just now coming into my marketplace? And the two of them can have that great conversation. And so that's what the NAREB network is really, really about, is bridging the communication divide across the country, because certain things are hitting all of our markets at some point or another.
Yes. I have my own personal story. So I sold 2 properties out of state, listed one, and and it was a NAREB in Delaware. I got a referral from a church member, and she listed the property. I received a referral for that. And then Mr. President referred me to someone in the Durham, Raleigh area, and we did a multi-million-dollar deal. And that was a NAREB member. We can't wait to see each other in Vegas. So that is, I find that as a member, very valuable, because it's one thing, it's just like we're consumers, right? So if you can give me the name of someone that you trust, I'm probably going to more than likely want to use it versus just getting some random person.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Here's a funny story. Back in December 2025, just recently, I had a gentleman who lived about 12 doors down from where I live, right? And he has a best friend in Chicago. So he called his best friend in Chicago and said, do you know anybody in LA? I want to sell my home. He said, I have a realtor's brother in LA. Let me send you the information, and we were able to sell that home. And so, and that's funny because real estate is very personal, right? It's the largest transaction that families will ever make. And so you have to work with somebody that you trust. And so being able to get that referral was a great thing. And it displayed trust that this individual went across the country to find somebody 12 doors down.
Right. And I think you mentioned this yesterday about accountability. Like, find somebody that you're accountable to, find somebody who's accountable to you. It holds you, I think, just a little bit more accountable because, you have your overreaching organization that's like, that you're accountable to. So you want to keep that reputation, you want to keep that integrity. It makes a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
And also to add to that, just the early exposure to NAREB, it's like, okay, everybody's here. The camaraderie is like, this is like brothers and sisters taking care of each other. People are absolutely wearing their crowns, and we spend time together. That's a tough thing to do at times, like to slow down enough in life to spend that time. So we're spending our time having conversations that are like industry-based, family-based, legacy-based, and that trust that's authentic. That's real. So you mentioned Vegas, and that's where the conferences are. When you get a chance to come to the conferences, the conventions, the events, that's where you get that at. And just one little small story. It's valuable because we have a president down in Tampa, Travis Brooks. Yeah. Right. So early in one of the conferences, I had like my speaker. You know what I mean? I had my speaker. I was like, "Oh, we having a good time. We're having a good time." And I had walked into like a quiet area with my speaker. In, probably not appropriately, the volume. And I was like, "Oh, sorry about that." And then the next morning I saw him, I was like, "I apologize. I didn't mean to like step into your realm during that time and have it going like that." He said, "Brother, always bring your speaker." You know what I mean? So that's an early interaction where I was just like, you know what, that's nice. That's authoritative and letting you know you come as you are to improve, and we have a chance to get better because we're not perfect,
right?
But we are in this thing to kind of help continue to elevate one another.
That's right.
And that's like beautiful.
That's a wonderful thing. That's a great segue into my next question about the value that we bring our members. We are a trade organization. And as a trade organization, our first customers, or if you will, are our members.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that, Mr. President. Like, what value does NAREB bring to its members?
So I think we talked a little bit about the network. That's number one. We have a mandate as a trade association to really work on improving the overall practitioner's life, our members, right? In that, we focus also on the community. So the networking is amazing. Even the story I just told about Chicago referral, I ended up taking that particular seller after we sold their property and referred it to a member in Atlanta because he relocated to Atlanta. So the networking is amazing. Number two, the ability to work with the community. I got into this business because I wanted to help families. I actually started off working on the loss mitigation side, trying to save people from going into foreclosure or losing their home. And I worked on that side, and I found that sometimes it was too late to be able to help people. And so I wanted to get on the origination side to be able to talk about budgeting, planning, generational wealth, all of those things up front as opposed to on the backside. And so that ability for all of us to be able to work with the community is amazing. And I always tell people that homeownership is a human issue, right? It doesn't matter your race, your religion, it doesn't matter your political affiliation. Everyone wants safe living, affordable housing, somewhere where they can raise their children. That's everybody wants that, right?
Absolutely.
And so to be a part of that educational process is invaluable. And so we try to do that as well. And so we have community days. I know during Realtist Week, we'll be working with the community, giving free classes and things like that. And so those are very important. So in terms of membership, and then the last thing I'll say is it's important to be a part of something.
Yeah.
A movement.
Community, camaraderie.
Yeah, we've been around since 1947.
Yeah.
We're celebrating our 79th year. Next year is 80 years that we've been around. I always tell people if I could have been born in any time period, it would have been in the civil rights because I love that we can work together.
Yes.
And I think we can do that in 2026, right?
Yes.
We can work together. And so NAREB does that very, very well. And so if you're not a member, I'm speaking to everybody out there. If you are are in real estate, if you are a contractor, a housing counselor, an appraiser, any discipline, and you are not a member of NAREB, you need to become one today.
That's right. Yes. Exactly. Become one today. Membership is so important because the members, we're the foot soldiers.
Yes.
We tell the story.
Yes.
You know, we care. And you said yesterday, everybody is on the membership committee. Everybody.
Yes.
We are all part of the membership committee because that we should be proud to want to share that.
Absolutely.
And want to bring more members in. I mentioned that someone who called and she owns a business, but she was in between her business moving from one location to the next. And by trade, she's a interior designer. She said, "Hey, how can I get plugged in?" Guess what? She's a member of NAREB now.
Right.
Yes.
And then when we went to the midwinter, I had an opportunity to talk to some leadership there. And he said, "There's not a person I do business with. If I'm giving you my business all year, surely you can pay that $135 or $150 or $200.
Right. Yeah.
Surely you can.
Depending on where you are.
He said, "I'm not going to do business with you if you don't."
Exactly.
And I said, that's huge.
And that's a powerful piece. Aligning with people and organizations, companies that share the mission to move this thing forward with democracy and housing and closing the gap. So, because we have had wonderful partnerships. Wealth Watchers is a very valued partners of
That's
of
one of our
ours.
local partners.
Yes, that's one of our local partners who are really working to help people who, initially, they come to the table and a person may not be able to qualify for this home that we keep talking about, home, like the magic word. We want to give you keys, but they have the resources at time with credit counseling that is educated, experienced, in order to get them to the level where we can begin to say, okay, now we can start talking about actual home price points that are good for you. Like, we want you to purchase the property and be able to maintain it, improve it, and possibly with legacy, pass it on, turn it to a rental property. These are conversations that are happening like within the Realtist camp that's probably not happening in many other places.
Yeah.
Because we have had these experiences where, what do you think this asset would do for you 10 years from now further, right? So that's one thing. And then obviously other organizations that have a loud presence or a strong resource lending presence. Those are the partners we really want to pull in and just continue to expand the voice.
Right.
Right. So.
And there's no way you can be a part of an organization like this and not have you got to be involved in your local government.
Yes.
You got to be involved with your local government.
Absolutely.
We're going to be going to City Hall on Tuesday for our day at City Hall, a part of our Realtist Week. But Mr. President, talk about that, because you talked about that a lot yesterday.
Yes. I think that we have to, a couple of things with going to City Hall or going to Capitol Hill or going at any level of government. Many of these individuals ran to support our communities. And just our presence is supporting them as well, right? To know sometimes they're in a room where they're feeling alone and they need to see that the realtors are there because we know that they're fighting on our behalf. So that's number one, and that's a good thing. The second thing is that if we're not there, then our opinions are not counted.
Right.
And so we have to do that. And one of the things that we are promoting, because we do this, and most organizations do a day on the Hill. If you can be the physicians or the attorneys or the real estate brokers, they're going to do a day on the Hill. We want to be consistent about that.
Right.
We want to have, even if we have to split it up and say, well, you 5 go this week, you 5 go the next week. We want to do that so they know that, I don't know, but every time we open these doors, there's realtors in the room. So we got to make sure we take care of our realtors and the Black community and all the things that they represent. And so that's one of the things that we're focusing on moving forward.
I love that. Absolutely love that. So I know we do have some phenomenal and exciting things coming up. And talk about that. When you're going to be in my city, I'm so sad that I'm not going to be there for the bus tour in Baltimore. But talk about some exciting things that are coming up happening pretty soon.
Yeah. So absolutely. So we have a lot going on right now. My team is saying, "Hey, listen, Mr. President, we gonna." I said, and we look at it because there's so many different barriers.
Yeah.
What my barrier to homeownership could be is different than yours and yours, right? And so we want to meet everybody where they are at. So we are doing an 8-city bus tour. It's called the Affordable Homeownership Bus Tour. We will start in Philadelphia on April 25th, and we're going to visit 8 cities in 8 days. So know that I'll list the cities, and you just know that that's the next day. We're going to spend over 40 hours on the bus going from city to city to city, from beginning to end. But what's very important about that is we wanted to do this because it's a commitment to the community. So if we can spend 40 hours on a bus, then I want you to give us 2 hours of your time to get all the information. So we're going to start in Philadelphia on the 25th. We're going to go to Baltimore, Detroit, Gary, Indiana, Kansas City, Missouri, Memphis, Tennessee, Little Rock, Arkansas, and we will conclude in Tulsa, Oklahoma on May 2nd. And so we're very excited about all of those opportunities. The realtors on the grounds for those particular areas are very, very excited. And I'll give a little bit of insight for 2027. We are already making plans to do a more southern route. So understand that we'll be coming down to the area. And so when you get back into advocacy, this is the time where you're going to have to advocate for your areas, but we are going to do a more southern route next year. We're doing a starting on the East Coast, moving into the Midwest a little bit. Then we're going to do a little bit more southern route next year, and so we're very focused on that. Part of that, what will happen on the ground, we're going to be having classes, home ownership vouchers to housing vouchers to home ownership vouchers. That's very important to us. Heirs property rights. We're losing so much wealth because properties are not recorded in title right, and so it gets handed down, but then something happens and we lose the property. And so we want to make sure that we are preparing. We spend all this time paying these mortgages, getting the house together, that it's handed off properly. So heirs property rights, we actually will have attorneys on site. You can bring your questions out and have one-on-one private conversations as well. Home ownership counseling, right? We know over the last 12 months that over 750,000 people have been laid off, a lot in the Black community, right? Over 300,000 Black women have been laid off. So if you're struggling with your payment, or you think that you will be struggling in the upcoming months, you can come out and get free housing counseling, so we can have an actual HUD counselor on site to talk to you about that. If you're a first-time home buyer and you want to talk to somebody about buying a home, you can get that counseling as well. And if you already own a home and you want to have a conversation about expanding your real estate portfolio, we will have experts on site for that as well. So all things home ownership will be on this tour. But again, those are 8 cities, but we are in over 115 cities across this country. So what I want to tell you to do is go to NAREB.com, find someone local to you, reach out to them and have that conversation, because we have experts across the country.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Listen, if you are not getting on board, you are missing the bus. You don't want to miss the bus.
Right.
Oh my goodness gracious. I love it. I love it.
And sharing Realtist Week in Jacksonville?
Yes.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So yesterday we started out with our power brunch. That's phenomenal, hearing from contractors within NAREB, FCAR, hearing from our national president, hearing from just multiple streams, how to make money and in real estate, right? There's so many different levels to go with that. So we had our bowl brunch yesterday. That was phenomenal. And then Tuesday, we're going to City Hall. We have I like our leadership in Jacksonville so much, because they open the door for us to have these conversations about what's close and near to our heart, what our missions are. So we'll be there 12 to 3, and we will have more and more affordable housing talks, right? We will talk about continuing to improve that gap, because that's a tough one. Wednesday, that's community outreach. We'll be over at William and Rains. We love partnering with our Vikings over there, and we're going to be giving them they're going to have some class. They're going to have classes, but those are going to be real estate classes on Community Outreach Day. So I've kind of seen what that looks like. They will learn about a construction project. They'll learn about careers in real estate, and they're going to have to make some choices.
Right.
They're going to have to decide what kind of upgrades they're going to do in those construction and renovation projects. And again, this is exposure at a very high level, and the curriculum is set. I have a teaching background. Our chairs, they put together a very good program for that community outreach. And then on Thursday, we got our virtual housing day, but we'll be online. So everyone, all of you, you get more information at fcarjax.com. And then Saturday, that's our last day, that's the community outreach day where we're going to be church in the park at 9 a.m. And then that's going to have our Oyster Fest following that up. And that's at Riverview Park on the north side. All right. So that's what we have for it. And
I tell you, exciting times.
Yes.
Mr. Ashley, there's another national program, the Realtist Restore Day. Talk about that too.
Yes, so we are actually doing one board, one day, one home, right? And so each local board is going to adopt a home in their community, and we're going to restore it. I'm excited about this. I think this is an opportunity for us to do some great work, maybe with someone that's elderly that cannot do it, maybe they're a disabled veteran or whatnot, but every local board will select a home, and we're going to beautify that home and show some love. And one thing I love about the Realtist spirit is that it's all about love, and so we can definitely do that in every marketplace across this country. And so I'm excited. We're at the end of the day, when we all go home and we lay our head on the pillow, we can feel part of something that was bigger than ourselves.
Right.
And that's what this is all about. And so we love our community, and we want to show that as well.
I love it. I know one of the things we did locally, we have one of our sponsors, one of our very supportive sponsors, Landmark Title. We helped them build a wheelchair ramp last year. And we're on board for this year to do two more wheelchair ramp buildings with them. So that's something that we do. But we may have to take that a little further and not just build a wheelchair ramp, but do a little more on that day.
And I think that gets back into advocacy when we talk about advocacy, right? Advocacy doesn't have to be this grand, we're going to change the way lending is done.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be all that. We can advocate for speed bumps in the neighborhood where children are being hit by cars or anything like that, because we are the community defenders. When we talk about our NAREB pins and our shields, it's a shield. Our logo is a shield, meaning that we are the protectors of our community. And so all things real estate, we want to continue to do that. So I love service, and I'm glad to be connected to so many people that do as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love it. My goodness, was this not a lot? I tell you, we bring people who have something to say, and these gentlemen had so much to say about service, community, advocacy, policy. Real estate is more than the transaction. I love that, because it is. It's not just paper signings. It's not just brick and mortar. It is about people.
Yes.
Helping people become homeowners. And so many people want that. They don't think they can. But when we come together and we bring them that information, we let them know that we can, and that we're advocating for them to be able to do that. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Listen, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Again, we come on every second and fourth Tuesday of every month. And we are going to bring you people who have something to say. We want to provide you education, information, but mostly inspiration. And I hope these two gentlemen inspire you. They definitely inspired me. And if you're out there, if you're in the real estate industry, and it doesn't matter, like Mr. President said here, listen, it doesn't matter what you do. You don't have to be a realtist. You don't have to be a lender. You can be an inspector. You can be an insurance provider. You can be a mortgage broker. Be a part of community. Be a part of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers community. Be a part of your local chapter, and be a part of what we're doing to make things better for our residents. So listen, so glad you tuned in. Again, we come on every second and fourth Tuesday of every month. We're bringing you people who have something to say. We're on all your major podcast platforms. We are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. All you have to do is put in Trust, T-R-U-S-T, then T-H-E-N, no, K-N-O-W, and you'll find all of our episodes. Thank you so very much. Happy Realtist Week.
Thank you for listening and watching this episode of Trust, Then Know, the Jackie Boyd podcast. We hope this episode has left you informed, intrigued, and inspired to become your best self. Remember to tune in every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, and Trust, Then Know.